We begin tonight with the conflict in Libya, where many in Congress believe the 90-day deadline has been reached for the president to seek their approval to continue military action there under the War Powers Act. Here's the latest. Muammar Gaddafi's forces killed 10 rebels and wounded more than 50 around Misrata, the main rebel stronghold in the west. While in their eastern stronghold, rebels said today they had run out of money. And late today, NATO acknowledged that one of its airstrikes went off course last night in Tripoli and may be to blame for civilian casualties. Pizzey is in Tripoli tonight and begins our coverage.
What almost certainly was a tragic blunder by NATO at first looked like it might be another propaganda attempt by the Libyan authorities. Just after 2 o'clock Sunday morning, journalists were brought to this site. The neighborhood, known as Souk El Juma, has been a focal point of protests against the regime of Muammar Gaddafi. But for once, politics took second place to a frantic rescue effort, conducted with little organization and a lot of brute force. This was said to be the body of a woman who lived in the house.
The Libyan officials who brought us here insist this is a civilian area that was bombed by NATO, and it certainly has every appearance of being just that. But a man has just sidled up to me and murmured another version in my ear. I am afraid, he said, but I'm going to tell you something secret. There are anti-aircraft guns behind this building.
Gaddafi's spokesman denied the site had any military connections.
This is cold-blooded murder. We hold the UN. We hold NATO. We hold Mr. David Cameron. We hold Sarkozy. We hold Obama. Responsible for this murder, for these crimes.
The casualty toll was put by the Libyans at 9 dead and 18 injured. Journalists were shown 5 bodies, including a baby and a toddler. Hours later, much of the debris had been cleared, and the Libyans had carefully arranged some material that wasn't there initially, including these baby items. In a statement, NATO said its planes targeted what was described as a missile site operated by pro-Gaddafi forces in Tripoli.
It appears that one weapon did not strike the intended target due to a weapons systems failure. This technical failure may have caused a number of civilian casualties.
Given that more than 4,300 bombs and missiles have been dropped and fired on Libya, and how close civilian areas often are to the targets, the tragedy that occurred here was always an accident waiting to happen, and one NATO said it regretted. Pizzey, CBS News, Tripoli.